So, one of the more ironic or funny aspects of Kamala Harris's sudden prominence on the political sphere is the fact that a group of Nikki Haley voters has decided that they want to support Kamala Harris. Um, this is from the Philadelphia Inquirer. A Philly based group had rallied Nikki Haley voters now supporting Kamala Harris. Then came a cease and desist letter. Haley Voters for Harris, a Philadelphia-based group led by Nikki Haley voters against former President Donald Trump, has set its sights on Pennsylvania and other crucial battleground states, encouraging Haley's backers to throw their support instead behind Vice President Kamala Harris's candidacy. But Haley, a former Republican presidential candidate, is not on board. Shocker. On Tuesday, the former South Carolina governor and United Nations ambassador sent a cease and desist letter to the group for what she viewed as associating her name with an endorsement for Harris. Attorney Michael G. Adams wrote in the letter on Haley's behalf that Haley's name, image, or likeness that implies her support for the election of Kamala Harris as President of the United States should not be used by the group, NPR reported. Kamala and I are total opposites on every issue. Any attempt to use my name to support her or her agenda is deceptive and wrong, Haley said in a statement to NPR. I support Donald Trump because he understands we need to make America strong, safe, and prosperous. Haley initially declined to endorse Trump after dropping out of the presidential race, but eventually supported the former president and even delivered a speech in support of him at the Republican National Convention last week in Milwaukee. But Haley Voters for Harris said Thursday it will neither cease nor desist and still plan to continue to ramp up its Pennsylvania voters' outreach next month. Our First Amendment speech will not be silenced because our activities under the Haley Voters for Harris campaign are fully complicit with the law. Haley Voters for Harris wrote in a statement. The group sees the cease and desist letter as an effort to use legal process to intimidate political speech, suppress political speech, said Craig Sidney, director of HV4H. We've said over and over again, we don't begrudge her personal choice. That's up to her. But we are the people working on this, and in this and with this, Sidney said. We are Haley voters and we are for Harris, so we're just calling ourselves by what we are. It's a simple statement of English fact. H4H4 abides by an anyone but Trump philosophy, joining almost 160,000 other registered Republicans in Pennsylvania. Sidney, a resident of Old City, said he makes a pretty bold but dramatic statement of protest and voted for Haley during the Pennsylvania Republican primary, even though she had suspended her candidacy. So, I mean, this is interesting on multiple levels. I mean, the least interesting part of the story is that Nikki Haley doesn't like it. No duh. She has no spine. After, claiming that she, hates Trump so much and Trump's bad and blah, 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 whatever, she falls in line like the rest of them. Again, I would have scripted that. That's like what you expect from Nikki Haley. What's more interesting is two things. One, the attempt of at least some Republican voters to aim off and away from Donald Trump. Now, they're not the majority. I hit the little mic thingy. They're not the majority. The party's still very much the Trump cult. And will they ever take the party back in a different direction? Hard to say. I don't know. Doesn't seem like the major names of the party want to give up Trump anytime soon. But they're out there. And that's a problem for Trump. That's a problem for the Republicans. And that's an advantage to the Democrats. I think Nikki Haley does have not a bad chance at appealing to swing states and appealing to sort of moderates and people who sort of vote different ways depending on the context. I of course am not her biggest fan because she's not progressive enough. And to some extent, I don't even find her like a terribly likable person. She seems to me a bit too much like a weasel. She seems like she gets along she goes along to get along too much, in my humble opinion. But again, when we're thinking about voters more broadly, I think this is evidence that she actually has a chance to appeal to people outside, the main Democratic base. And that is, that's heartening in a way. Nobody was really, it was hard to see, this time around, it was difficult to see the idea of Biden appealing to a lot of independents and undecided folk. And as I said in one of my last videos, it seemed like the life force of the party had sort of just disappeared. But now, the Democrats are kind of, in some ways, back in full swing. Harris is doing well in the polls. I think it's 44-42, Harris Trump. And now there are Republicans who are already saying, yeah, we're going with Harris. We dislike Trump so much that we're going with Harris. So, like I said, it's very funny. It's a good sign for the Democrats, and it's a bad sign for the Republicans. It is possible that the Republicans' unwillingness to not let Trump go will be their downfall.